Oh, hello there. Um, I wanted to talk about a topic that hasn't been brought up much in the mainstream media in regards to the Iranians firing a missile at a passenger aircraft that killed 57 quote unquote Canadians. Most of them were dual citizenship Iranians. But anyway, we'll leave that part out. Um, yeah. When Soleimani, the Major General, was assassinated by the Americans, the Iranians were calling for revenge because the government told them to. And they went along with it because of the years and years of indoctrination that they've gone through. Uh, Personally, I wouldn't give one tinker's shit if a Canadian Major General got assassinated. If he did, that was because he was stupid and he fucked up. Um, but that's neither here nor there. The Iranians fired down a passenger aircraft because they needed to show that revenge was exacted. Right now, at least the media says, the Iranians are backing off, the Americans are backing off. Nobody with any common sense actually believes that. Right now, the Iranians are strategically not in a position to be advantageous. And the Americans got what they wanted. They assassinated uh, Soleimani, Major General, a significant person within the government of Iran, and no American soldier casualties were recorded because the inferior technology and strategic know-how of the Iranians missed all the ground targets in Iraq. The Americans had already, disappeared by the time the Iranians were able to counterattack. Now, this aircraft, some people go, well, if it was grounded, if it wasn't allowed to be late, because it was late departing, I heard, it would not have been shot down. It was shot down by accident. Bollocks. It was shot down on purpose, and if they didn't shoot that one down, they'd have shot some other one down. Because in order for them to exact revenge on this great military leader, they needed a body count. And on the global stage and on the home front, what they say are probably going to be two different things. On the global stage, they're going to say, well, they are saying it was a terrible accident, blah, 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 and it will be investigated. They've apprehended the people that fired the missiles, and there's going to be a trial for them. That's them trying to be reasonable on the global stage. In reality, what they will tell their own people, more than likely, is that the people boarding the planes were traitors on their way to Canada. And that the people who shot them down were facilitating their escape, and they really didn't shoot them down. All they were traitors that remained in Iran and enabled them to escape. And it was another group of Iranians that shot down the traitors, and that's what the Iranian people want to hear. They were chanting death to America. They chant that a lot, along with a whole bunch of other things. I mean, they're Canadians, but, to the Iranians, there's not really that much difference. The point was it was an attack against the West. So if they didn't shoot this aircraft down, they'd have shot a different one down. But what Justin Trudeau should have done is he should have grounded all flights coming from anywhere near Iran from being allowed to return to Canada. And maybe he didn't have the jurisdiction because it was a Ukrainian aircraft. Maybe he didn't have the jurisdiction to ground them, but he could have banned them from coming to Canada. And that may have influenced the decision of the particular aircraft they were going to shoot down and the subsequent rhetoric that will accompany it. Because the Iranians don't care. Like, there are so many innocent people on that aircraft, including children, I believe. And the Iranians do not care because they can't be seen as weak. And that's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. But Soleimani, he needed to be assassinated. He was a bad guy. And some people feel that the Americans should have left him be, that other presidents had the chance to assassinate him and did not do so. That man being alive, more people would have been endangered and also killed because of him being alive. That was a huge blow to the Iranian government, and one that they quite honestly had coming. And the news outlets say this is a great embarrassment for the Americans because now the Iranians have more influence in Iraq. Oddly enough, the Iraqis and the Iranians had a war, but people have a tendency to only remember what happened last week. They don't remember what happened in the 80s because they don't read history books often enough. They forgot that they had a little war back then. The thing is, the Americans aren't running away with their tails in between their legs. And, this is just anti-Trump rhetoric. I mean, I'm not always pro-Trump, but I am going to say things that, that's not how I believe it to be true. And this is why I don't believe it to be true. The Iranians have already crept into Iraq. I believe that. But the Americans have proven that any significant political or military leader is not safe in Iraq. And that's a huge blow to a country trying to annex another one, is that if their political and military leaders could be assassinated from a drone strike, that they are completely unprepared and incapable of combating, because drones are super fast, they're quick, they're quiet, they're accurate most of the time, and the Iranians do not have the weaponry to combat that. That is why a major general was assassinated. And the Russians are not going to interfere if, someone of high ranking can't defend themselves. The Russians are not the babysitters for Iran. They're allies to whatever extent, so that prevents the Americans from further intervening in dispatching the threat, which is Iran. But at this point in time, they got what they wanted. They assassinated a top leader, and there wasn't really anything other than a spiteful, petty revenge that the Iranian government was able to exhibit. And anyone using common sense would go, that was low down, despicable, and cowardly on their part. But they had no problem turning around and saying that about the Americans. And it makes you wonder how intelligent that country really is. I mean, our rhetoric is really stupid, so I don't know. Maybe they're as stupid as everyone else, but that rhetoric is stupid. I mean, if a major general cannot protect himself and displays signs of arrogance and egotism, which are characteristics that you should not have if you can't back it up as a military official of that ranking, it shows how weak their military really is. Sad, unfortunate thing would happen with that airliner, but that's Justin Trudeau's fault. And I think a lot of people know that, but don't want to say it. And I will say it. He should have banned all flights coming from anywhere near Iran from coming to Canada. Whether or not he had the authority to stop them completely from going somewhere, He probably didn't, but he should have banned them from coming to Canada, dual citizenship or not. Canadian citizens or not, they should have been banned from coming back to Canada, and that may have saved their lives. But he didn't do that. So, in my opinion, Donald Trump did the right thing. Justin Trudeau fucked up. That's my opinion. And the Iranians proved how impudent their army really is. And despite the fact that television doesn't say it, if they don't go crying to the Russians, saying, "Oh, the bad Americans," the Americans would flatline them. Their entire government would be flatlined. Their military destroyed. And it is only because the Russians have some level of competency and we kind of want to avoid a world war, and they're loosely tied as allies with the Iranians. I say loosely because it's not as strong as it used to be. It's, vying for positioning, really. So, yeah, that's my take on it. I could have made this video a little while ago. I chose not to. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll talk to you people later. Have a good one.